Hello, there are significant and increasing concerns about the rainfall we're expecting through the weekend across parts of Scotland. So this is a video focused on the amber warning that we've just issued for parts of Scotland. Now, there are several ingredients leading to the heavy and persistent wet weather we're expecting during much of Saturday, Friday night and Saturday night as well. And one of the ingredients is the much-signalled warm and dry weather that's pushing north across a large part of the UK this weekend. That warmth comes up against much colder air that we've got in residence across the far north of Scotland, the Northern Isles generally. And this temperature contrast intensifies, and that intensification of the temperature contrast leads to an activation of the weather front, which marks the boundary between the warm and cold air masses. And that warm front that is going to basically sit in the same place for 36 hours or so, as it becomes increasingly active, it will dump more and more moisture. And that moisture source is from the subtropics. It's coming up around this area of low pressure out to the west, and so there's readily available a lot of moisture as that weather front becomes more active. In fact, there could even be some embedded thunderstorms to lead to some short rate large rainfall totals, as well as the general heavy and persistent frontal rainfall we're expecting. So the rain starts on Friday, but initially it's mostly light across southwest Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, but some heavier rates there for parts of Lancashire could lead to some issues because it's been wet here for the last day or so. Another 20 to 30 millimetres likely for Friday, and so a yellow rain warning in force for Lancashire. Then our attention turns to Scotland. Now, there will be some wetter weather on Friday night for Northern England and Northern Ireland for a time, but increasingly the rain becomes focused by the start of Saturday across the central belt into the Highlands and Grampians. And the brighter colours here indicate where we're likely to see hour upon hour of heavy and persistent rain. And you can see how that continues throughout Saturday morning into the afternoon as well. So a couple of warnings to talk about here. There's the broader yellow warning that covers much of the central belt into mainland Scotland, up as far as parts of Caithness and Sutherland, and we're expecting 50 to 75 millimetres of rain in places, 100 to 120 millimetres of rain over hills. That could cause some issues. But the amber warning is where we're most concerned, and that covers the Trossachs, southwest Highlands, parts of the central belt, including Glasgow, Stirling, for example. 100 millimetres widely here, not just over the hills, but perhaps for some low-lying places. And for some of the wetter spots, the risk of 180 millimetres of rain. Very significant rainfall totals leading to a very significant flood risk. River flooding we're talking about, but also surface water flooding on the roads and so on. So the risk of transport disruption, dangerous driving conditions, for example, and disruption to rail networks. Now, along with that, there's the risk of danger to life because of fast-flowing floodwater, just the sheer amount of water that's going to come out of the sky and build up in the river network in Scotland on Saturday is very concerning indeed. The rain continues for a time into Saturday evening across central Scotland. You can see some heavier bursts there continuing, but many of the lighter blues and lighter rain replace the heavier rain. And in fact, by this stage, the rain is pushing north, so that by the start of Sunday, the focus for heavier and more persistent rain is across the far north of Scotland. It's moving out of those central parts. Drier conditions push north across the UK, and some warmth. Now, there will be some warmer weather in much of England and Wales on Saturday, but that will be more widespread on Sunday, with a marked contrast for central and southern Scotland, certainly on Sunday afternoon, mid to high teens here, with some brightness coming through. The rain, though, sets in across the north of Scotland. It will be heavy at times, but it won't be quite as heavy or as persistent as we're expecting on Saturday in central parts, and so not the same level of concern for northern Scotland on Sunday, albeit it will be a wet day. But yeah, that focus is on central parts of Scotland through Saturday. 36 hours of heavy and persistent rain, some real issues possible. Stay tuned to forecasts and warnings as much as possible.